Good morning, folks. This is BelGeode, and we are still here at FlightSimCon. We're actually on the opposite side of the airport. And what are we doing on this side of the airport? We're going flying today. So here's going to be our chariot for the morning, flown by Packrat from Easternhops. Look at this little beauty. We're doing pre-flight right now. Well, actually, more to the point, Packrat's doing pre-flight. But yeah, this is where things get kicked up to the next level here at FlightSimCon. Ah, such a beautiful bird. Got to make sure you check your control surfaces, make sure everything's functional. Tires have air, check your fuel. Ailerons, make sure that they're free movement. Check your pitot tubes. Looks free and clear to me. Oh yeah, Carinado, eat your heart out. So I guess on a game plan, we're going to do like a few circuits around the area. I believe we're going to fly out of the airspace, so that way we're not conflicting with traffic over at KBDL. And we're just going to have some fun. And as you can see, there are some other aircraft here. Approximately 8 folks flew their own aircraft here to FlightSimCon. So off in the distance there, you'll see a Twin Star, and I believe one of those Lancers over there is Austin Myers from X-Plane. And pretty much everybody's just parked up right over here. A nice cozy little spot in the airport. And we have another gentleman that's going to be flying. Unfortunately, I forget his name, but I'll probably have it pop up in the comments. But he's got his little aircraft over here, too. You'll see it as November 1132C. And by the way, sorry about the bright sunlight. It's like 7 o'clock in the morning here. We've got the tower back there. So yeah, we are at Signature Flight Support. Signature is the FBO. They are in a lot of different airports. And obviously they're here too. Award-winning service. Those guys are the best. Alright, so as soon as we're done with pre-flight, we'll go ahead and head on out. Okay, so we are in.
Find a notch on the primer here. Come on. Where you at? There you are.
How many times do you have to prime it?
Prime it twice. This engine starts real easy. This has got the 6-cylinder Continental in it instead of the 4-cylinder Lycoming.
Gotcha.
Because this is an older model. This is a 1967 model.
Oh, really? Oh, wow. Huh.
Clear!
You got a good engine start.
Yeah, 1,000 RPM. Oil pressure coming up. That's good. Got it right here.
Yes. There we go. 003.
Skyhawk 2416.
So we just called clearance delivery.
Loaded up a little bit so the RPM right.
Okay. Our squawk code.
Alright, maintain VO4 at or below 2,500. Departures 125.35. Squawk 532.
Alright, I'm gonna set that.
Set the number 2 radio to the departure frequency.
Okay.
125.35. And then we're good. Then we'll flip over and call ground.
Here we go.
Probably ground Skyhawk 2416. Six minutes at the signature ramp. We have Yankee and we're ready to taxi. Alpha Juliet Sierra
15. Alright, so going to runway 15.
Alright folks, at this point in time it is way too loud for you to actually hear what's going on in the cockpit, so we are going to kick it up a notch. Right about now is where Packrat tells me, hey, this aircraft is trimmed. It's your airplane. And I look to him and I say, you realize I'm recording this, right? I've got my left hand using the cell phone to actually record the flight, and my right hand is now on the yoke. Yes, I am flying with one hand. It's a lot harder than it looks. Not only am I recording video with the other hand, but I'm also trying to keep us on a heading of 190, and I've got to get us up to an altitude of about 2,000 feet. Thankfully, the camera is relatively in a safe spot, so you know I can scan for traffic. And of course, Packrat has his throttle, but otherwise, this is all me. I can fly wherever I want within a 15-mile radius. And guess what, folks? It is a lot easier to fly a real aircraft than it is to fly in Flight Sim. Well, except for one minor detail, I do not recommend flying while taking video with a cell phone. Even with a skilled pilot with you, it's not a good idea, kids. But at least we did make it. There was no harm, no foul. And I tell you, that is an experience I am not soon to forget. But yes, in future, I think I'll probably just invest in a GoPro camera and, you know, leave the flying to both hands. All things considered, though, Packrat said, you know, these yokes are designed to have either one hand or the other on the yoke. So as long as you got one hand on there, you can pretty much control the aircraft. And that is exactly what I did. About now, I've got us just about at 2,000 feet above sea level. So I begin to level the aircraft off, and I'm still heading on a heading of 190. So I guess our turning point, our first waypoint, is actually going to be a lake just down the way there. The lake is called Lake McDonough, and there is a dam on the north end of the lake that leads to a reservoir. And I forget the name of the reservoir, but it'll probably pop up on the screen at some point in time once we get closer to it. But basically, I'm just making a beeline for that lake directly ahead. Now also at this time, Loki's aircraft will have taken off as well, so there is a tripacer behind us somewhere. Needless to say, we can't see him. With all this haze and the fact that it's a very small aircraft, he becomes extremely difficult to see, but the tower is still in contact with both of us, so they know where we are at all times. So pretty much it just becomes a sightseeing trip with two planes loosely following each other. And as you can see, Packrat is completely hands-off. I am in total control of this aircraft. I've mentioned before on this channel that yes, I do in fact have some real-world piloting experience. It's not much. It's only about 4 hours back in 2007 when I had originally started learning how to fly. But I had to stop because I had lost my job that I had at the time, and that was a lot of money to miss out on. So basically I couldn't afford any more lessons. But suffice to say, since that time I've been flight simming just about every single day, so I imagine all of that really helped me out as far as figuring out what to do to keep the plane level and so on and so forth. So never let it be said that video games have no use. Flight simming will definitely help as far as getting into the cockpit. And as you can see, yes, I still have one hand on the yoke and the other hand on the camera. Craziness, I know, but hey, this is me. I did ask Packrat, now that we were at cruise altitude, if we were going to lean the mixture. However, he said that since we were just about 2,000 feet, we really don't want to lean the mixture at this point. Plus, it's a pretty warm day. So the only thing that we did was we throttled back just a little bit, and then we headed straight for the lake. Right about here, Packrat has visual on the dam that we were looking for, which is the Barkhamstead Reservoir Dam. So he basically tells me to just aim for that dam. So I'm coming off of heading slightly, and I'm just going to be heading straight for the dam. The plan is, when we get to the dam, we're going to take a left, go over the lake for a little bit, and then turn around and fly back the other way over the reservoir before we decide to come back in. And I figured that should be more than enough sightseeing for me, and then I'll get ready to hand the controls back over to Packrat. But first, we got to get to the lake. I should also mention that even though it definitely looks a little bit hazy out there, the sky itself was not that warm. The thermals were just beginning to pick up, but they weren't enough to cause us any significant turbulence or, any of the updrafts or downdrafts affecting our course and our altitude. So we really lucked out by taking off around 7 o'clock in the morning. Of course, with me doing double duty, trying to fly the plane and get some decent video footage for you guys, I actually started to get off course just a tiny bit. So what I ended up doing was putting the camera back on the dash with my thumb underneath it so that way it wouldn't vibrate nearly as much. And then occasionally I would take it and put it off to the right side as you're seeing right here. But being that I was still slightly off course, Packrat told me to adjust my course a little bit to the west, so that way I could get a visual on the dam and continue to head directly towards it. Which by now, we were probably about 5 or so minutes away from it. Now the other thing that I was thinking too was that, I've got to use dead reckoning to figure out where the heck I'm going, but then I remembered, as Packrat pointed to it, he's got his iPad here, which totally has a GPS built in. Not only that, but he's also got a GPS on his yoke. And here I am, navigating by sight. Silly bell. You can see the reservoir now off to the right. And yep, that's exactly where it should be on the map, so we are exactly where we should be. So let's hear it for dead reckoning, folks. The dam should be directly ahead and slightly off to the left. Not too bad for my nap of the earth flying there. Considering the fact that I don't know too much about this area, I was surprised that I was able to visually navigate it. In retrospect, what I should have done was actually taken a look at the charts the night before. However, there's the dam right there, so I'm pretty sure that I have no problem flying towards it at this point. Also, luckily for me, we're in an area that's got hills, which is one of the reasons why I really like hilly areas. You've got a point of reference. Hills generally have a specific shape and run in specific directions, so you can always use that to help you navigate when you're flying by the seat of your pants like I am. But yeah, there's the reservoir, and we are almost on top of it. So it is almost time for me to swing out left and show you what Lake McDonough looks like. That's about the time that Packrat says go south over the lake itself, and I'm going roger that. So now is the perfect opportunity for me to try something that in Flight Simulator I'm really bad at, and that is making a level turn. I would say I pulled it off, but it wasn't perfect. And there it is, Lake McDonough. Actually looks pretty cool. But we didn't spend too much time here because we needed to start heading back, so that way we weren't going to be using too much of Packrat's gas. So I took a little bit of a stroll down here before hanging a right and making a complete 270-degree turn back in that direction to bring us back over the reservoir again and head back towards Bradley Airport. I gotta say though, this is one of the most beautiful areas of Connecticut that I've ever experienced. And granted, I don't have a lot of experience with the Northeast. I've only been to Boston, and I've spent a couple of times in the airport in New York, so I really don't know too much about this area. But it was time to make our turn, so here I go into another level turn, which I'm thinking that Packrat was probably giving me a little pop quiz there just to make sure that I knew how to pull this off while video recording, let me just remind you. I do like the fact that he used it as a teaching opportunity for me as well, because I figured out exactly where I've been going wrong all this time with my coordinated turns. What I've been doing is I haven't been pulling up enough on the yoke to compensate for the loss of lift as I'm coming through the turn. But I was able to correct it by simply looking over at the vertical speed indicator and making sure that I was in fact level. Not gonna lie folks, it's kind of difficult to do that in the right seat, and this is actually the first time I've been in the right seat flying the aircraft. But as we made our way around this bend here, this is when I said, wow, this looks so much like X-Plane 11. I'm gonna do a dramatic pause here so you can all shake your heads and facepalm collectively. Yes folks, yes, you heard right. I actually compared real life to X-Plane 11 as if X-Plane 11 was the standard that real life had to live up to. Yeah, only me. As Packrat was still chuckling to himself, I decided to check the gauges and make sure that everything was in order. And I didn't bring it all the way around to where it needed to be, so I had to compensate for that. So once again, I put the cell on the dash with my thumb underneath and started to make a little bit of course correction here. Truth be told, if I would have had my way and avgas didn't cost anything, I probably would have gone the entire length of the reservoir and then turned around back to the airport. However, I was not the pilot in command, even though I was the man flying the plane, so it was enough for that tomfoolery. I had to bring us back around so that we could begin our approach into Bradley. At about this point, the radio starts crackling to life again because Loki is being vectored all over the place, so, you know, that way he maintains his distance with us. Bear in mind, I still can't see the guy, and I got my hands full right now. Nope, still no sign of Loki. But be that as it may, I am still heading back towards Bradley. It's going to take us probably about another 8-10 minutes to get there. And with this haze, I can barely make out where the airport is. So I've got to trust that I'm heading in the right direction. Not to mention, I've got the sun in my eyes. Hi. Very shortly after my let me take a selfie moment, the tower comes on and tells us that we've got a choice of runways to come in since there's a lull in traffic. We can either take 15 or 24. Since we took off on 15, we picked that one to come in. So we ended up getting vectors to right base, and I was of course instructed to make the turn to get us on to heading for right base. That would end up being my last act as the person who has control over the aircraft. Once I get us all straightened up and on a direct path for the pattern and getting into the right base entry, I hand over controls of the aircraft back to Packrat and start scanning the skies to see if I can find Loki. I can hear him on the radio. I know he's behind us. I just don't know where. But I figure I've got enough yoke time for today. We might as well let the professionals land, because after all, he's the one with the pilot's license, not me. And if I try landing, it might not end so well. So I give up searching for Loki. I figure he's on this frequency. He can hear us talking to the tower, and we can hear him talking to the tower. So I'm not even going to worry about that. I'm just going to get some more sightseeing in. And then I notice the airport is right there, and we are on base legs. So we're about to come in. But here's the thing. We're still at 2,000 feet. Runway elevation's 173 feet. Shouldn't we be descending right now? Luckily, it's almost like he's read my mind. Packrat's got this. He's already trimming the plane to go down. And I did ask if there's a setting for descent. Essentially, he says he just trims for speed, which is roughly about 100 miles per hour. That's good enough for me. Of course, I was a little bit surprised that his airspeed indicator measured in miles per hour rather than knots, but you know what? I wasn't going to worry about it. He knew what he was doing, and it was time to put the flaps down.
Flaps down 1 notch. Or is that 2?
Of course, there's a catch to all of this. Even though we're nicely trimmed up and our flaps are down and our airspeed is being reduced, the thermals start to pick up, which of course has the disadvantage of pushing us up a little bit while we are trying to come down. Not to mention it's generating a very slight chop. It's not enough for it to be a really turbulent ride, but you can tell that not only is it going to delay our descent a little bit, but it's going to put us a little too high on glide slope as we're making this turn into final. Which you can see right now. If you look real close off to the left side of runway 15, you'll see all 4 PAPI lights are white, so we're a little bit high. Then again, better to be too high than to be too low. And Mr. Packrat's got a plan to get us down. Alright folks, I want you to pay close attention. Watch and learn and see how a boss does it. You see all 4 PAPI lights are white, right? We're dropping just enough speed and he's got just enough of descent, probably about 500 feet per minute, and boom, instantly, right on glide slope. Doesn't get much better than that. Now all we have to do is just bring this sucker in like it was Christmas morning. After such a flawless landing, I'm thinking the only thing we have left to do is just cross this runway and just taxi off to the right somewhere. But then the tower tells us they want us to make a U-turn on this runway, head back the way we came, and then come off on a taxiway on the other side of the longer of the 2 runways, which I believe is runway 6/24. So, that's what we do. We make a U-turn on the runway, and we head back over to our taxiway. And that should be all that I need to add additional voiceover for, so I'm going to put you back in the cockpit with the original audio, and you can hear what Packrat and I talk about on our way in.
Substitute for this kind of experience. I mean,
have you ever ridden a one-star aircraft?
Yeah, I actually have probably about 4 hours in a 152, I think it was. But that's
you already know that flying a real airplane's easier than doing it.
Yes, yeah, definitely. It's way
I've
easier.
been trying to explain to the Easternhops guys that for years, and most of them couldn't understand. And now they do.
Right. BelGeode.
I had one guy, he tagged on to me and my wife during lunch yesterday. And he was dying for me to invite him to go flying. I'm sorry, I can't take everybody and their brother flying. Yeah, gas is not cheap, especially not.
Outstanding.
Alright, we're going to abbreviate the shutdown procedure here. You usually wait until it dies from mixture alone.
Right. That was absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for that background.
Oh, you're welcome. You are very
awesome.
welcome. Enjoyed taking you.
Outstanding.
Any excuse to go flying.
I hear you. Folks, I cannot tell you just how priceless that experience is. I mean, I've got a couple of hours in Cessna, so I've been in a plane before, but being at the controls again after so many years, it's almost like it's second nature. Needless to say, I had an absolutely amazing time, and I can't thank Packrat enough for this very generous experience there. This is so awesome. All right, but I'm going to head back over to the hotel for day 2 of our convention, so I will be back in a few. Thanks as always for watching. Don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe. This is BelGeode signing out. Ciao.